What's good, y'all? Sorry, 1 second. All right, there we go. Sorry to figure the microphone, but what's good? Just got back from a little mini vacation with the family, and immediately I went to go see Weapons. Y'all know I did a reaction to the trailer a while back, and y'all already know I had high hopes for this movie. I was given my thoughts on what it could be, and to my delight, I'm glad it wasn't even what I said. You can see my reactions and see what my thoughts on the movie was going to be, who I thought the villain was going to be, what's going to happen to the kids, and all that stuff. But and in a good way, it didn't do any of what I said. This is definitely a must watch. If you want original films, and I know that's what a lot of people for years have been talking about. We need more originality, the same Disney remakes of superheroes, so on and so forth. We need more original. This is one of them. Just like how Sinners was and a couple other ones, this is another great original movie. It definitely see expectations. Like I said, I came in already happy, like excited, but I'm pleased to say this is definitely a must watch. From beginning to end, it is, and I'm going to say this now, it's a build up movie. It builds up to something in the third act. But one thing I love about it was the build up is entertaining. For some, I was one thing I was hoping that the build up to it wasn't going to get slow or boring. It's like a 2 hour movie, and to my delight, it wasn't at all. It was entertaining all the way till you got the answer of what was going on in the movie Weapons. And for those who don't know, I'll give a small little story of what Weapons is about. Weapons, according to what the trailer showed, I'll just give you what the trailer showed is a classroom at an elementary school, this certain classroom with this one teacher who was played by, hold up, I want to give her a shout out. The teacher was played by Julia Gardner. She was the teacher. She did really good. I'll get back to her in a second. But her classroom, all her students, except one, all disappeared. And it was shown on Ring cameras and different households of how the kids got out. And it was at this certain time at 2:17 a.m. And you just see them run off into the darkness. Don't know what's going on, like what happened to them or nothing. And the town, small town, who was led by Josh Brolin, who was, for those who don't know, in MCU, he played Thanos, he was leading the people to throw hate and shade towards the teacher, thinking she had something to do with it. And it wound up being this whole mystery of what happened to the kids? Is the teacher behind it? And is there something else going on? That's the small little story, because I don't want to spoil anything. Y'all should go see this, because that little bit I shared, it's a lot more that happens in between that. And I love it. They did a really good job in the build-up to it. And then the reveal was not disappointing, because sometimes in build-up movies, the delivery doesn't sell. It's like we waited for the moment to see the answer. Then we see the answer. We're like, oh, I figured that out a while ago. No, here they did a really good job with it, delivering it. I was thoroughly pleased from beginning to end. But now, back to, what's her name? Julia Gardner. Shout out to her. She's like the female Pedro Pascal, because I've seen her everywhere. After her role in the Ozarks, I don't know if you've ever seen that TV show. That was the first time I've seen her, was in the Ozarks. She's been getting roles after roles after roles, and I think this year she's already in 5 movies, if I believe so. Silver Surfer, she was in Wolfman, Weapons, and I believe it was 2 other ones. But hey, I always said the same way I say for Pedro Pascal, I'm happy for people getting work. I don't care if you see them a lot. That just means they're good at their job for the most part. That's usually what it means. But like Pedro Pascal, how I feel about him is the same I feel with Julia Gardner. They're really good at their craft, because she did a very great job. And actually, I want to give credit to the whole cast. Whoever was the casting director deserves to get more recognition, because everybody, even the side characters, did a great job. Of course, Julia Gardner, Josh Brolin, they were the main focus when it came to actors. But the guy who played Wong in Doctor Strange's assistant, he was in it. Some other actors that was a surprise. I'm not going to say who they are, because the movie doesn't show them at all in the trailers. But you see them, and it's like, oh, I know who that is. They had some spotlight. So there was some cool surprise with that. But everybody did a good job. But it was led very well by Julia Gardner and Josh Brolin. And one thing I want to give a spotlight to is something I don't think I've ever said when it comes to a movie, was the reactions of the actors in certain situations was done very well. It even made the theater laugh, because there were some moments in here where you're like, what? Like, us, the viewers, are like, what the heck is this? and the actors who was portraying whatever the character was had those same reactions. It was like the people in the movie, whether it was the side character to the main character actors, reacted the same way we did. There was a few moments in this movie where the crowd was laughing. And it wasn't like they was trying to be funny like the Naked Gun. It was just situations, the reactions of the actors is how we reacted. And it was like whoever was writing it understood how we would feel seeing this. And so they had the actors portraying it. And that was done very well. Like I will only give one situation. Well, I ain't going to spoil anything. But there's a moment where someone has a dream. I was going to say that. Someone has a dream. And in that dream, they get scared for like a mid-second. And when they wake up, the way Josh Brolin reacted, or it was Josh Brolin, the way he reacted had the theater laughing because it didn't feel like he was acting. It felt like a genuine reaction to something. And that's what happened throughout this whole movie. And I really like that when it came to anger, depression, shock, sadness, whatever. The actors just did a great job. I guess it's the best way that they're actors, so they're meant to portray a character well. It was just, I don't know, it felt more real in certain situations. And the crowd felt the same way. Like I said, they was laughing, but it wasn't because it was supposed to be a comedy. It was because that was such a genuine moment from the actor that it felt so real. So I want to shout them out for that as well. But I also want to give, who's the director's name? Because I want to give him a little shout out as well. Because he's 2 for 2 with me. He did Barbarian. Wait. Zach Kreger. Yeah, Zach Kreger. He did The Barbarian, which I said was a sleeper. And shout out to my friend for telling me a couple years ago to go see that movie because I didn't know much about Barbarian. I looked over it like a lot of people did, but just like me, people got word to mouth of how good the movie was. And to my surprise, that movie was, I wouldn't say excellent, but it was a big sleeper. And if you haven't seen Barbarian, go check it out. But he made that movie, and he made this one. I think he written it too. I can look at that later, but I think he wrote the movie as well. But he's 2 for 2 with doing these films. One thing I love is, as great as Barbarian was and as great as Weapons is, they have no relation to each other. So it's not like, oh yeah, we've seen that before, Barbarian. No, he writes a completely different story over here. He writes Barbarian, then he writes a completely different story with Weapons. It has no relation to it besides the fact that it's good surprise. That has good surprises, good script. The setting is really good because that's one thing that it does. It doesn't have a lot of jump scares, but it does make he does make environments uncomfortable, and I like that he did the same way he did with Barbarian. No jump scares, but at the same time, you're in this room, you're like, and he does that very well. Speaking of jump scares, I know people call this a horror movie. And I guess they had a few horror elements to it, but it was just I guess you could call it that. I would just say this. Keep your expectations low and thinking that it's going to be scary, jump out, monsters, jump scares all over the place. It's not that kind of movie. The atmosphere and the certain situations that happen in this movie, I can understand why they call it a horror. It was more of a thriller for me. A dark thriller. That's the best way I could put it. But as a person who's seen a lot of horror movies, I understand why people call it. But there is something I have to disagree with. Someone said this is the greatest horror movie in the last few years. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. The movie's great. Don't get me wrong, but greatest horror movie? It doesn't have enough horror elements for me to put in that category in the greatest horror movie segment. Does it have elements, like I said, yes, and I understand when certain people call it a horror movie, but you'll know when you see it. And that's another thing. If you are hesitant because you ain't trying to be scared all day, because you're thinking that people are saying it's horror, it's not that kind of movie. Does it have moments where it can creep you out a little bit? Yes, but a little bit, in my opinion. It is not filled with jump scares, and like literally, I think it was only 2 or 3 jump scares, and it wasn't that intense, in my opinion. I don't believe it was made to be this movie was made to be that kind of film to sit up there and have you at the edge of your seat scared. It has you on the edge of your seat, but for different reasons, and you'll know when you see it. But definitely go check this out. A big must watch. This is definitely on my list for my top 10 at the end of the year when I do greatest movies of 2025. This is definitely on the list. This is definitely on the list. I have F1, Ballerina. I'm not gonna. A couple other ones. I'm not gonna say it yet, but yeah, this is definitely up there. I can see this again. I can see and pay theater money to see this again. I already know what's going to happen, but the movie does so well at entertaining you through the situation that even though I know the answer now because I've seen it, it's not one of them one-offs where I'm like, oh, all right, I already know what's going to happen. The movie's not entertaining enough for me to watch it again. No, I can actually watch it again. Let's say like with my wife, for example, she didn't see it, and I would enjoy it, you know. But yeah, definitely go check this out. A must watch. I'll check y'all later.